1, 2. I apologize again for the delay. We really appreciate it at Hero ERA because some of our guests have arrived. So just a few more that will catch up during the live stream and during the launch conference as well. It is brilliant to see so many of you here at Hero ERA headquarters. Thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Should there be a fire in the event of, highly unlikely, there is escape doors there, there's the garages there. If anything worse than that happens, we have our staff as well who will be placed and telling you exactly what to do. Main fire extinguishers are over there. If you'd also kindly switch your phones to silent, that would be appreciated as well. And just a further little note, when we get to the question and answer session, it'll be both a mix of online people who will send in their questions, and I'll see them here on my iPad, and questions from the floor here as well. And Eve will come around with a microphone. So don't try to shout the questions out, because if you do that, they won't hear them online. So I appreciate that if you would use the microphone as well. As far as we're concerned, this is a big launch for us because it's the 10th anniversary event of the Peking to Paris Motor Challenge in 2028, that magical event, and you're joining us for that. We've got a lot of media guests here, so welcome to all of you. Welcome to the media guests who are online as well. Thank you for being with us. And you will see the press material later, the press pack, and the press release with all the materials. As usual, if you have any questions or requests, send them in to my team, and we'll do our very best to look after you in that respect. The amazing features of the world's last true motoring adventure will come out from our members of the panel here. And you'll see how that's emphasized even more in 2028. But here's just a few of the things to draw you in, the qualities and the features of P2P, which many of you know, but some of you don't, because there's people here who've never done the event before, and perhaps people online who don't even know what it's about. It's about adventure. It is the ultimate challenge, as many people have said. It's endurance. It's really, really tough, but it's rewarding, as, again, many people know. Camaraderie, that is a key feature of many, many events for Hero ERA. There are a lot of friends together in this room today. Those friendships have been forged on our events, particularly our long-distance events, where working together, living together, driving together make so much sense. Resourcefulness, well, you're going to need that by the spades, you're going to need that by the bucketful, and that, of course, will come out. Breathtaking topography in remote locations, places that some of you have never been before, places that definitely take your absolute breath away, and you have to pinch yourself and say, this is incredible, this is amazing that I am actually here. So let me introduce you to our panel, who are going to take you through not just the news, but also the features and the T's and C's, so you can learn everything that you want and you need to know about the 2028 event. Thomas de Vargas Machuca, many of you know him as our chairman. He is a mad motorist. He's a mad enthusiast, great sailor, motoring man. He felt the heat with Ben Cousins, who's here with us today, his teammate in 2024, and luckily survived to tell that tale. And I'm sure many of you have seen that online as well. Eleonora Piccolo is with us. She is our hospitality director of Hero ERA. And actually, she goes back a long way. She's a veteran of many campaigns going back to the original ERA. She doesn't like me mentioning that, but she still looks incredibly young anyway, even though she's been at it for a few years. Yeah, okay. Get stabbed by the pencil, but quite fun. Guy Woodcott, our competition director, who's put events on around the globe. I don't think there's a more hard-working competition director. He and his team do an amazing job. And he's also written here to tell you all that he's a fantastic rally driver in his own right as well. So that's good. Oh, yes, of course. The older I get, the faster I am, of course. Chris Elkins, route coordinator. Chris has huge organizational experience, but route finding experience. So he is our route finder general. 5 P2Ps, countless recce's around the world, whether it's South America or through Asia. He's absolutely your man. Melvin Palmer, who you see on the end there, many of you recognize him from Cars. He's the international events manager. He will get through the blocks, the obstacles, the paperwork, the customs, dealing with all that to make sure that your vehicles get there and that you can actually participate. And we are delighted, finally, to have Anton Gonnessen with us from Belgium, the famous Belgian architect. But more than that, he's an incredible adventurer. 4 wheels, 2 wheels, Dakar, trucks, bikes, you name it. The most important thing is, in 2019, when he was with us on his motor tri-Contal, he broke the record. And in the Guinness Book of Records, you can see he's down there for the longest journey on 3 wheels. So I think a round of applause for our panel, ladies and gentlemen. So by applauding, we'll get more out of them. We'll find out a few more secrets and see what we can learn. Don't smile, Guy. We're going to really put you through it. So again, wonderful that you could all be here. But we're going to whet your appetite even more now, because some of our colleagues from Cupido Films are with us. Amadeo's with us today. And this is a little teaser that they've put together that we're taking to various companies. Have a look at this. It'll give you a real idea of what you're in for if you don't know. Thank you.
When Thomas asked me, would you like to do the Peking to Paris rally, there was only one answer, and that was a big, unadulterated yes.
If you did it once, I think you have a fever. The fever doesn't go away. So you always want to do something like that, and it never stops.
When you book Peking Paris, you have to know it's fantastic.
I think this is one of the last true adventures.
The challenges are, it's bloody tough on the cars. You're not on metal roads.
Peking to Paris is a stupendous challenge. Crossing 10 different countries over just under 10,000 miles. Every mile is a blessing.
A goodly proportion of which is off-road. It's on tracks, it's on dirt, it's on gravel. You've got all the usual hazards on the road, but then you've got the dust which is trying to destroy your engine.
It's a true adventure, and doing it with an old car, you never know what's going to happen.
This is flat, desolate, dry, windy, and my tent's just blown over.
And it's not hard for the body, it's hard for the mind.
Superb. So that should whet your appetites. See a few people looking up. Rick, you're liking that? Wow, I'm in for that. Hopefully you are. So to the news and to deal with those headlines as they come through. This will be the longest ever P2P. 1907, for example, was 14,994 kilometers, and it took Principal Gazy 61 days. 2028 will be 17,500 kilometers and 42 days. So that in itself is a record breaker. Let me go straight into Thomas now. Thomas, put you on the spot here. What is the thinking behind the longest ever?
Well, first of all, hello to everybody, and thank you for coming here today. Well, the thinking was really, what is the best terrain that Chris and the team can find, and which one will it represent the essence of the P2P? And as we progress in our economic developments as a world economy, we find infrastructure in places where we don't want it. So we have to kind of detour to find those remote areas of the world to avoid, the roads which are fine for modern driving, but are not really in the spirit of Borghese and the other adventurers. So that's really what does. A little bit of geopolitics, obviously. So we have 2,500 kilometers more in 2028, so 17,500, which will add a couple more days to the rally, so it'll be 41 days in total. So really, to answer your question, is to find the right terrains and to maintain the spirit. And of course, we're going back into Mongolia. So that comes with the important element. And however longer we have to drive, we will drive to go through Mongolia.
Absolutely. And that is part 2, longest ever, and going back to Mongolia. By the time we get to 2028, it will have been 9 years since we've been away. And those who have sampled it, it's just absolute rally heaven. There's no other description for it, really. For this 10th anniversary, though, Thomas, I understand there may be a commemoration along the way, perhaps?
Yeah, so in our endeavors with the Mongolian authorities, we're trying to see whether we can effectively set in stone the importance of the Peking to Paris. So we're looking to have a commemorative stone to be placed as close as possible to the original route that we will also go going through as a testament. So this is in the middle of nowhere. It'll be the Peking to Paris in 1907 came here, and we're doing it again. I mean, here, for all the countries that host us, this is an important event, as those who've done it before recognize. Certainly China, Mongolia, but even crossing into Asia Minor and then Eastern Europe and in Western Europe, every country in these areas embrace the passage of the Peking to Paris with friendship and generosity, things that we don't really associate when we look at these countries on main media. But when you're there, the humanity and the friendship is really quite something different.
And you just saw that shot before. That was from Kirov in Russia, where they put up a whole little model, if you like, of the Itala, and they put that there.
That was the Pirelli factory,
right.
Actually, to celebrate their factory when it was built,
right.
and the importance of the Itala. That's what they created.
Which was on Pirelli tyres, of course. Yes, yes. So, Thomas, I think there's further great news of commemoration on this 10th anniversary special event. Can you tell us what you're going to be driving?
Yes, well, I thought that to be as true to the spirit of endurance, and to punish Ben and myself for having blown up the American La France, we decided to forego the windshield as well. So this will be the 1907 Itala, the sister car with which Borghese did the original event, which is parked outside. And to that effect, there are a few people that I'd like to thank. One is Lawrence Klein, who helped convince the previous owner to sell it to us, of course, and David Eyre, who's here, who restored the car in the first place many years ago. And I think he drove something like 50,000 miles in that car across many continents. So there's going to be a good team of enthusiasts handing over the knowledge of how to drive again across the biggest landmass on Earth with the Itala going forward. So so.
And I think, Thomas, at this point, it's worth you announcing the tribute class.
Yeah, so the point of the Itala as well is also to try to revive that ancient motoring. So we're we're adding the 1907 tribute class, which effectively allows a guaranteed entry to anybody who wishes to find an Itala, de Dion Bouton, a Moto Tree Cantal if you want to get inspired outside, or indeed a Spiker. And we're talking to some of these owners, and they haven't said necessarily yes, but they haven't said no.
Thank you for now, Thomas. That's great. And as Thomas alluded to there, we are going back to Mongolia, which is a great story. It's a magical place, as we've said, to be in Mongolia. And 9 long years since we've been there. That is due to diplomatic efforts at the highest level by Ben Cousins. So thank you to Ben for that. And we'll be returning, and it's great news. So Guy Woodcock, what does that mean for the event?
I mean, it opens up going back to Mongolia. And that pure adventure, the camping, the desert tracks. I mean, I first went to Mongolia in 2019, and it blows your mind. I know Chris will make some more comment later about Mongolia, but the people and also the whole enthusiasm of go into that country because it is landlocked. If you've never been there, it is the most wonderful place. And as I say, Chris will allude to something that he gets very emotional about, I believe. He said that he did. But yeah, I mean, those people there, they love the cars, they're willing to help, and nothing is too much trouble. So, you know, that is one of the highlights, and that's why it's very important. And we've been working, and Thomas with Ben, to ensure we can go back into Mongolia in 2028.
So negotiations at the highest level?
Yes, well, actually, here I need to thank Ben, who not only is a friend and a real motoring enthusiast, but his diplomatic skills are actually unparalleled. No, jokes aside, he's been liaising with all levels of government in Mongolia, from ambassadorial services to the office of the Deputy Prime Minister and with the Prime Minister's office. All of whom have been very enthusiastic about welcoming us again, and they're putting together a kind of working group to allow us the best passage through Mongolia, whatever entry or exit we need. Of course, it's not necessarily early days because he's put a lot of work into it already. We have a bit of lead time, but it's great to have the support of the country that we look to cross to have all of that support.
Great. Right, Chris, turning to you now, because you've spent the most amount of time there, not just events, but wrecking and so on. And you told us all a story, which we absolutely loved, about being on your own in the middle of the Gobi Desert in Mongolia for a whole day and your feelings. Just recount the highlights of that little story for us.
Yeah, okay, Tony. I remember telling you the story, and I think it was 2010. We had, for one reason or another, lost a marshal crew and didn't have enough marshals to run the controls. So my friend Ed and myself, we decided to split up and run a control each. So I dropped him in the middle of the desert with a small tent for shelter and some food and water. And I drove back around 15 kilometers to where I was going to run the control. And while I sat down, as I waited for the first car, I sat down looking to the distance. I suddenly realized that I couldn't actually hear anything. There were no birds, no people, no cars, no planes. Even the wind wasn't blowing at that particular moment. So there was just complete silence. And as Guy said, I get quite emotional thinking. I can relive the moment now, and I do get quite emotional just thinking about it again. So
you're welling up.
I'm raring to go back there, as you know.
Yeah, you are yearning to go back. I know, and you're going back very, very soon. But to camp in the desert must be amazing.
Yes, it is. I think it's good to be. I think it's good to camp in the middle of nowhere. Just the remoteness of the place, and I think it's great to be with the car that you're driving halfway around the world, and to be with the big rally family to offer support. So, yeah, I think the camping is a big highlight. You'll see beautiful sunrises and sunsets. Special place.
Great. So
for me.
Yeah, absolutely, and for many others, absolutely magical. So let's ask Anton now about after the rigors of the desert. I'm guessing you see the campsite, you think there's an oasis. Does it exist?
It's a bit double, Tony, to be honest. As a console driver, on the one hand, of course, you're happy to arrive in bivouac, and sometimes the desert seems endless. Furthermore, the hospitality in Mongolia is legendary, I can assure you that. But on the other hand, there's also the feeling of regret that the day's wonders end. The overwhelming feeling of freedom in Mongolia especially is so present that part of me is always sad that the day is done, and I sometimes wish it wouldn't end. But there's always the concern for the car or the bike, in my case, which generally only starts after the first beer.
But that's time to draw in breath, really, and then try and fix it and go again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Clearly, that's after 5 beers, and you think, "Sod it, I'll do it."
That's the general idea. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sort of it,
Can you just give us a brief description of what it was like trying to drive the motor tricontinental across the desert? This little 3-wheeled machine. Originally, there was 6 horsepower.
7.
Oh, well, apologies.
Yes. Right. Driving a Contal across the Gobi Desert is nothing less than grabbing life by the balls. I lost them, by the way, the plastic ones I had hanging on the console. But the car tracks in Mongolia are not the same as the tracks you make with a tricycle. So I was always like this, or like this through Mongolia. So it's a fight from morning. It was a fight from morning till evening. On top of that, we had some issues with the deformation of the axle, which was conveniently fixed by the legendary Mongolian welders right there in the sand in the middle of the night, which is something that keeps surprising me. But it's actually simple to ask you a question. If there's petrol running through your veins, and if you have a bike brain, which is something special, driving on 3 wheels or less in the Gobi Desert will blow your mind, definitely. Okay. I'm not finished to answer the second part of your question. No, it is, because they might be, the 1907 Contel might be somewhere in Mongolia, because in 1907, August Pons, on the 8th day, got stuck without petrol, survived by drinking with his co-pilot Foucault. He drank the bottle of champagne and all the fluids in his radiator, and then after days, a camel caravan found them and brought them back to Beijing, so back to Paris. But they left their Contel. It was brought to the mayor of Ulaanbaatar, which amused his guests with it for a few years to make them lick the battery. Okay. But afterwards, there's no news after that. So it remains a mystery.
Right, well, we might send you out with a search party and go for a little dig and see what you can find. Let's turn to Ellie, our hospitality director. Ellie, this is one small part of the massive logistical operation that you have to put together, but suddenly there's like this pop-up tents and villages to look after everybody in the middle of the desert. So what happens there? How do you go about that?
Well, to conquer the wilderness of the locations where we drive through, we literally have to create our own facilities where there aren't any. So when the recce teams goes out there, they will identify the better locations in the desert where we can have a good stop and an overnight halt, and then we need to find the way to pop up everything. And there's the easier part, the sleeping tents, easy enough, but there's also the most complex logistics of having proper facilities to wash and shower and cook some food, prepare some food, and dining locations, electricity, everything. Basically, it's literally a campsite that is created for us that same day and is dismantled as we go. And to do that, we cooperate, we identify the logistics partners locally, and we cooperate with them to supply all the facilities that is needed while we are on the event. I'm not going to give away the secrets of how we manage to do it day after day. Okay,
but you do, and Ellie and her team do an incredible job, as some of you know. Aside from Mongolia, there are 11 other incredible countries. It's going to go through 12 countries in 2028, and they're all amazing places, and the competition will continue. The longest and most adventurous. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask Guy and Chris to take you through the general route. General, we say, because obviously there's a lot of work to do, a lot of wrecking yet to do, but they can give you an outline of what's going on. So Guy, if you'd like to start, and we'll show you the map.
Yeah, I mean, there's a slightly important event to get out of the way first this year, Tony, before we move on to planning for 2028. But, we've spent a bit of time and working with Thomas and making that decision that we were going back into Mongolia. You can see there our basic plan, which is obviously a Peking start, into Mongolia. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in Mongolia. It will depend on how we can work the route. Then back obviously into China, although who knows what's going to happen in 3 years' time in geopolitics. The route is very much work in progress. Those of you who did 24 and are doing 25 will be amazed at how China, the bit of the Gobi we did in China is very similar to Mongolia. But we definitely want to do as much as we can in Mongolia and in New Zealand Batar, because they're really looking forward to welcoming us back. Once we come back into China, or not, as the case may be, obviously into Kazakhstan, and Chris can just sort of fill us a little bit more details in for that, and I'll finish up at the end.
I mean, I think, as Guy just mentioned, the geopolitical situation will dictate the route. But in an ideal world, we would like to come out of Mongolia into the corner of Russia and then into northern Kazakhstan. That's kind of plan A. But we do have a couple of backup plans, and one way or another, you'll go back to Mongolia. We'll either go round the top of the Caspian and into Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan were really good to us last time, weren't they? So, you know, we'll either go around the top of the Caspian or across it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important. I mean, you know, this year again, last year we used crossing the Caspian into Baku, where, you know, the Baku F1 team were unbelievable in their support. Those of you who were on the event, you know, they couldn't do enough for us, and they're going to welcome us back with open arms in 2025. So we have options. You know, once we we've got to come across country and pick up through Georgia, Turkey. But once you really get to Istanbul, I think the world is our oyster, or Europe is our oyster, I should say, as to which route we take. You know, last year we took Greece and Italy, cross up into France. This year we're doing Bulgaria, Romania. But a lot will depend on how much time we spend and how the impact of coming in and out of Mongolia dictates how many days we have in Europe. Because I always feel sometimes Europe is a bit of a rush. You know, just to get to the finish, where sometimes there's some great roads that we sometimes don't get to use in Europe. And if we can make that work with the timings that we have in Mongolia, then we will do. But you know, ultimately, we will finish up in Paris, and there it is, 42 days, 17,500 kilometers-ish.
But also to prepare people, because competition will continue through Eastern Europe and through Western Europe as well. It's not over then, it still goes on.
No, I think it's important that historically people thought they could win the rally in Mongolia. I think, you know, that we proved in 2024, you've got to keep going to all the way to the end. You know, it's reliability of the car. You know, you've got to feel for Richard and Faith, who were 2 days away from winning it, and the car failed. You know, it's all about getting to the finish. I think the old saying is to finish first you have to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, the good news continues, everybody here and everybody online, because we're going to ask Thomas now to go through the classes of vehicles that can enter P2P 2028, and that includes, he will announce some new classes there as well that you will be all unaware of. So, Thomas, if you could take us through those, please.
Yes, thank you, Tony. So we wanted to freshen up and clean, if you want, the classes from where it's been for a few years. And actually looking at the history of who and what has participated on the event. We've had all of these categories before. Of course, the 1907 tribute category, as I said earlier, so that's cars that did the 1907 original event. The Pioneer class, which has always existed, so cars pre-1921. Then we have the vintage category, that's cars pre-1931. And then the open top Vintagent, so we've split that class, so vintage and Vintagent are no longer the same class. We've segregated them because the performance of Vintagent is materially different to that of vintages, and we don't want to penalize vintage cars. Then the Vintagent, so Fanjos and Fords and Chevys and all that. And then, of course, the classic category, which is typically one of the most competitive ones with Escorts and Porsches and Mustangs and that. And then we've got modern classics, because we have to embrace that younger people resonate with slightly different cars, younger cars. So this will be pre-1986, but it'll be limited to 5 vehicles. And so hopefully we'll engage with some of the next generation enthusiasts. The solo class, again, it's been kind of done before. This is Bill on the Badawi, but actually in 2010, if I'm not mistaken, a gentleman had a bit of an issue with his navigator. The navigator just left after 2 days, and the gentleman finished in a Lancia Lambda, if I'm not mistaken. So that's been done before. I'm going to be pioneering that class this year in the vintage class. Then we've got the 4x4 class, and here we're hoping Land Rover Series 1, Willys Jeeps, not Dakar-style Range Rovers. I'm sure we'll get some of those. But anyway, and again, the 4x4 class has been done before. I think in the 1997 there was a 4x4 class. And then I think our favorite, which is 3 wheels, like the Cantal, or less, as the case may be. And again, in 2010, there was, I think it was an Australian gentleman who did, or tried to do the P2P on a motorcycle. Most of it was flatbedding it. But now that you've got prior preparation, then you can avoid poor performance. So these are the new classes. And I'm sure in a world with how many billion people there are, I can't remember, today we'll have a handful of real adventures and pioneers to take the gauntlet from Anton and take either 3 wheels or less.
Anton, actually, we would like you to comment on this, because 3 wheels or less, this is pretty adventurous. This is an expansion, really, of the classes.
It is, Tony. Look, I see it like this. P2P, for me, is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And I think the new classes and the ambitious new route makes it, in my eyes, even more unique. And without hesitation, I dare to say the greatest adventure in our time, available to us. For everybody in a car or a bike, this 10th edition will, I think, be the crown on what was already the king of the jungle. And I have a message. I thought about it yesterday. I hereby invite any brave competitor to break my Guinness Book World Record. The name is Longest Voyage on 3 wheels. Okay. And to break it in 2028, since there is a new category available to do so. Okay. To achieve this goal, he or she has to do only 2 things. 1, show up on 3 wheels. And 2, drive the full 17,000 and more kilometers, and it'll be his or hers record. There you are, the gauntlet has been thrown.
Oh, challenge, yeah, a round of applause, eh? So it's not just Anton who broke records in 2019. We also must mention Mitch Gross. He's got the largest collection of steam vehicles in the United States of America, and this was his white Pullman 1910 steam car, which he drove halfway around the world, and also set a new record for the longest distance by a steam vehicle as well. So that was Mitch. Thomas, you've told us about the classes, the new classes, which we embrace, but who can enter?
Who can enter? People with a sense of adventure. No, I mean, who can enter? Look, we look for, obviously, experienced crews. This is not, it's all fun and dandy, but, you have to kind of be clued up with what you are doing, your knowledge of the car. So we look at people with experience or people who want to gain experience through us and with us. So if you've never done a long-distance events, we have shakedown events that are part and parcel of the experience build-up. We have a category which we call From Zero to Hero, where, in fact, Faith and Richard started with a novice trial. They bought a car, did the novice trial, did the Badawi, did the Sahara, and actually narrowly just missed the win last year. So it is all doable over a 3-year period. We want people who understand that the journey is the destination. We want people who appreciate that the Peking to Paris may be the most amazing adventure or a really, really difficult experience. And what makes the difference is you. You are the gauge that makes it a great adventure or not. It's people who are problem solvers and not problem makers. It's people who look forward and don't complain about whatever mishap happens, because they happen. It's just the nature of the beast. So that's really what we want. But if you haven't done a long distance event, we always have a shakedown event. It used to be the Sahara Challenge. We've chosen to make it into the Badawi because it gives you more time to prepare the car after the shakedown, rather than having this real race against the clock to deliver the car before it goes to China. And you don't want to be stressed because you want to be as prepared as possible with the car. The CVs that will come through will be vetted through our entry committee. There is a pecking order, so older cars obviously have a slightly favorable chance of getting in. People who've got experience, of course. People who've got medical backgrounds are also welcome because it's good to have within the field, doctors and people of the medical profession. It's just a good thing to have. And the type of cars. We don't want to have too many of one nationality necessarily, or too many 911s, or too many, Escorts, or Volvos, or Bentleys, or whatever. We want to be a real representation of all things motoring from Edwardian times to this day. So these are kind of the criteria.
Also important to mention the heritage membership.
Yeah, no, the heritage membership is important because it allows you to have the flexibility that inevitably most people will end up calling upon. You're committing today. You'll be expected to pay the deposit for us to consider the entry. Otherwise, it's always very difficult to gauge whether you really are interested or not. And then things happen. People sell businesses, buy businesses, children getting married, or whatever. And then the flexibility of being able to get forms of reimbursement or being able to put that deposit onto other events is really important for you. In the past, it's been very, very difficult to try to be as if you want, as understanding as possible, but we also are not a charity, and we advance pay the whole event. So every entry that we lose is a big hit for us. So sign up to the Heritage members because it avoids any difficult conversation if, for whatever reason, you need that flexibility. No different to a business class ticket, that you can change the next flight if you're, for whatever reason, you're late. So that would be my recommendation. And these are all elements that will then allow an entry. We're going to be doing as we did in the past, accept 100, 100 and maybe a few more, 100, 203 entries. Waiting list, if we go by what happened on the Gaucho, we were fully subscribed, I think a week or 10 days after the launch. We have a lot of people here today. We have a lot of people online, and there are a lot of people who are not online, who are not here, who I know are preparing cars with some of the preparers who are here. So this is, look, I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm expecting it to fill up rather quickly. So make up your mind, choose the car, choose your navigator, talk to us, any doubts, clarify any edges so that we can at least come, and let's work together to make it the best experience for all and a great adventure.
Thank you, Thomas. Guy, a message there really that needs emphasizing about car preparation.
I mean, yes, I mean, you are putting your vehicle through 17,500 kilometers of probably the roads it's never ever seen in its life before. It is all about that preparation. It's about you knowing your vehicle. Yes, we have our wonderful sweep crews who are there, and I think the answer is they're there to help you fix your car. And that's the important thing. They're not there to fix your car for you. They're there to help you fix your car. And that's an important thing because it's your responsibility to do your routine maintenance. They will always help. Oh, I need this spanner, or I need this, can you look at this and give me some advice? But, you have to have that mechanical knowledge of your vehicle. And that's all about the 3 years you're building up to doing the event is, you should be able to do majority of what we would call routine maintenance on your vehicle, but also prepare the car. So many times we see people who turn up in Beijing who've never sat in their car before they get to Beijing. You need to be doing at least a minimum of 1,000, and other people will probably say 2,000 to 3,000 miles in your vehicle before you ship it. So silly little things that we've come across where the navigator is strapped in and all of a sudden can't reach any of the devices on the screen in front of them. Trust me, it happens. Little things like that. Oh, and the seat's uncomfortable. Well, you're going to be sitting in it for 42 days. It's a bit late when it's in Beijing to try and fix it.
I think Richard Walker made a very, very good point that, in terms of the sweeps, he said you've got to do as much vehicle preparation as you can because it's not the sweep's job just to fix you all the time. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And
they're there to help.
Certainly don't hand the keys over and go to the bar. Never goes down well.
Tell us about the application process then. The application process.
The application process. So yeah, I mean, basically...
That one there.
That one there, yes. Sorry, Tony, yes. Caught me by surprise there. No, so basically, as Thomas said, the entries will be vetted by the committee, which is especially Thomas, Chris, myself, Eleonora, and some of the other members of the team. It's based on car type. It's based on car age. The older the car, the more likelihood you are to be able to get to be accepted. Car type, we don't want 15 Volvo Amazons or 15 Porsche 911s, as much as nice you are. Escorts, I'd probably weigh on that one, but... and crew experience, you've got to be able to have done events, you've got to be able to look at events, you've got to be able to have done long distance events, or at least have that experience of doing events of a similar nature, off-road, etc. So, we will consider all that. Medical professionals are always an interesting one. Yes, we have a team of doctors on the event, but then, if you are a medical professional, as we have a couple this year, they are certainly very much welcome, and that moves you up, shall we say, the pecking order. And obviously, as Thomas said, the advantages of the heritage membership are important, and also become part of the scoring criteria. And that's what it's about. 2019, I think we had 170 applications for the 110 places, and it was quite a interesting and heated discussion on some points as to which vehicles were allowed in. We do, I think, I'm going to steal the thunder. I think we've got 3 picks, each member of the team, so bribes are accepted, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, for goodness sake. Right, Melvin Palmer, who is with us from Cars International, said his company do an incredible job in terms of transporting the vehicles, dealing with import, export, the customs officials. So what sort of challenges do you face, Melvin, and what are you expecting from would-be competitors in terms of paperwork, etc.?
I think one of the biggest challenges we're facing at the moment in today's climate is the inevitable cancellation of vessels from the shipping lines. I think it's becoming increasingly more difficult to guarantee shipping. So for the events, we have to ship well in advance. There's no point in you guys entering a rally and spending all the money on car preparation and the car not being there on time. So we will be shipping the cars well in advance. The process in China takes approximately 4 to 5 weeks anyway. So, be prepared to lose the car, I think, probably at the beginning of the year would be the best bet. In terms of preparation, we kind of, what we would request is equally important as the car preparation is to make sure it survives the rally. We need to get it through the countries and into the countries to start with. So the biggest thing that we find would be to make sure the paperwork that you have, the vehicle title, the registration of the car, everything that you have in the car is in the correct name, it has the correct chassis number on it, it has the correct colour on the V5 or on the title of the car, because those are items that, invariably, until we get them and until we get the car just before we put it in the container and we need to ship it, there's a problem, the car turns up grey and it's got yellow on the V5, and then we have to change things, and it does cause delays and it does cause problems and potentially problems throughout the rally. So I would say equally important as the car preparation is making sure that your documentation is in order, making sure you have everything in line well in advance and sent over to us so we're able to check it and assist you with any export licenses or anything else that you may require as well, additional to the normal shipping paperwork.
Great. Thank you very much, Melvin. That's super. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move to the Q&A section now in this last 14 minutes. So for those of you online as well, if you go onto your device and go onto the chat toolbar at the bottom, please send in your questions and they will come through to me here as well. So we have plenty of time now for you, the audience, to ask those questions. Eve is going to come round with a microphone. Lars has got the first question. He's right here, and Eve is bringing the microphone. I think he's going to put someone on the spot.
Hello, Ellie. I have a small question to you. What about nomads? Are they still alive, or have you got a new partner there? Or?
We're working on it to make sure that the beer is going to be cold.
Okay, right. Just 1 second, everybody. I forgot to ask Dave Alcock, who is our head mechanic and chief sweep, to join us on the, in case there's any car questions, car preparation. Round of applause for Dave Alcock. Ladies and gentlemen, he gets a lot of us out of jail. Florian?
Yeah. I have another question to the camps, because I see we're going through Mongolia in a loop, as it's proposed, and then we have Kazakhstan and China again, which was the same area where we have been camping before. So if I remember correctly, before there was camps in Mongolia, and now there will be camps probably again in China and Kazakhstan along the route where we were going before. So does that mean we have like 5 extra days in Mongolia with camps? And plus the other 8 with camps in China and Kazakhstan as in 24 and 25?
Mike? Yeah. No, good question. So obviously the route is an indicative route because obviously our plan is to be able to also cross Mongolia and either go through the Altai Mountains and back into Kazakhstan. So take that with a little bit of pinch of salt. But no, we're not going to do 14 days of camping. That's a little bit too much for most appetites and logistically.
My back wouldn't cope with that.
And the clerk of the course is back, which is an important element to the rally. So the answer, no. We're going to still try to keep a week. And if obviously do most of the camping in Mongolia, we'll look for hotels in the Chinese side. There may be, depending obviously on the route, if we're in the middle of that desolate plain where we follow the pipeline, we might have to add obviously 1 day camping there.
Thomas, I have a small comment to that. Don't forget that the best camaraderie, the best nights we've ever had on these rallies were in the camps.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, obviously nomads are there, but there are other companies that we're in talks to, who are good friends of ours, and again, Ben has experienced them, who have similar platforms, and sometimes oligopolies are better than just simply a monopoly, and so let's make sure our friends from out there give us the best products so we can have the best experience and camping.
Right, next question, please.
Hi, yeah. It's Nick here. I'm a newbie. I've done rallies before in Morocco and things like that. I did the maths on 17,500 kilometers and 42 days, approximately 418 kilometers a day, 250 miles. So have you calculated based upon miles per day or just driving time? Because you talked about metal roads and also some roads look more like Surrey to me with the potholes and things like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think from and Chris can butt in here. I mean, I think this year's event will have days that are 300 kilometres long up to days that are 650 kilometres long. Yeah. So it will be depending upon where we are and where the hotels are and where we need to get from A to B. So it does vary. That's an average in terms of what will be. There will be potentially 5, maybe probably 6 non-driving days. We don't call them rest days anymore because those of you who have done it before will know they're not resting days. So yeah, the average is, that's a good average in terms of, that sort of distance.
And the longer driving days will be on slightly better roads, will they?
Most of the time, yes.
So when we get into these camps, according to Lars, which is supposed to be one of the highlights, are we going to get there at 3 o'clock in the morning? Or
no. I mean, what we've also looked at is when we're in a camp, we normally leave. First car will normally leave at 7 because everybody's up and moving around. So you tend to, the camps normally we get in. First car will be in probably 4 o'clock normally. And then the beer starts to flow and the singing.
Great, thank you.
Well, if you could come to the front now, please. 2 gentlemen here at the front. Thanks, Eve.
Do we have dates for it yet? Do we have more precise dates than 2028?
Yes, the start date I think is the 4th of June. Yes. Who's got the brochure? The brochure. There's a brochure at the back. I think it's the 4th of June.
That's going to be given out in a little while.
So you'll get that. It's 4th of June is the start date, and I think it's the 22nd of July is the finish. No, 16th of July. There we are.
Yeah, please.
Given the variety of cars that you've got and ages, do you have a minimum speed requirement that the older cars need to be able to achieve during the transit sections?
Not really.
Not really, no. I mean, basically, you should be able to average, realistically, if you're an average in 50 kph, it's going to take you 10 hours to do a 500k day. So yeah, I mean, you should be, I think Thomas is probably the best to, Thomas did it in his La France or something.
Yeah, and this is the whole thing about the tribute class. And so what Ben and I were doing, because our La France couldn't keep up with the rally, especially on the very hilly days on the bottom of the Himalayas, we were leaving an hour and a half before and getting in an hour and a half later, but we knew what we were getting into, and then we had the maintenance. So, and this is the same thing with other cars. Anton was doing the same thing in 2019. If you have a good reason to, i.e. your car has that kind of limitation, then obviously the curricular course will give you the dispensation, and you clock out the night before. So you leave in your own time.
That was what I was basically getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been done.
Next question, please. Xavier? Here we are. Oh, Xavier, yes, please. And then we can go back to Florian.
Yes, you mentioned the importance of being well prepared and being able to service and maintain the car, which is something which is not obvious. I mean, even if we have done, let's say, long distance rallying, well, we may not be very good. Do you contemplate organizing maybe a weekend here with your mechanics and just 1 or 2 weekends just for people who want to be a bit better and being able to do it by themselves instead of always having to go to the very nice, technical stuff? This is what happened to me in the Badawi, you know. Everybody was very helpful, but sometimes I realized that support staff are not there just to service your car. And I think that would be a good idea, you know. You organize a weekend and people will register and just basic things to be done.
I think it's a very good idea. And look, I think the most important thing of what you implicitly mean is communication with us. Tell us where your concerns are. Let's work to them together. If you have a weekend and whatever car you want, and Dave and his team is available, then yes, come here, stay a weekend. There's wonderful pubs around here. Learn to do your car, and then you go back and you take off the wheel, put it back on, take off the wheel, adjust the brake, adjust the clutch. How do this? All of that. But I mean, you have to be the initiator. I mean, I know you are, but the driver, the navigator, the crew have to be the initiators of that. But do you want to?
We're quite welcome to arrange, and we can do something, we can help you out, but you still need to know some basics, because with Peking Paris and some of these long distance events, if you're broke down and we are 2 or 3 hours behind you, there's so much you could do yourself if you've got a small amount of knowledge. And it's just knowing that vehicle, it's actually learning the vehicle before you jump in Beijing. I've not seen it before. It's just a bit of time, but yes, it can be sorted out, spend some time, give some ideas where you need to be, and and ideas how to work on this vehicle safely, the main thing, and stuff that will keep you ahead of the event than waiting for us for 3-4 hours in the Gobi Desert.
Yeah, and we've got workshops here that have all the facilities, so not a problem.
I think it's important that, as you say, if we gauge from what people want, there's no reason why we can't put on a P2P preparation weekend in here or wherever. Those, as you will see, paperwork will start coming out. Those of you who've done the event before, we do quite a detailed event guide, which is about the event, but also a car preparation guide, which I'm sure we can forward to anybody who wants it. The current one for 2025, and that's a document that's been, shall we say, improved over the years in terms of what mistakes and issues people have come across that are there. So you're working on using people's experience to understand what you need to do to your vehicle.
Right, just 1 second, if I could just interject, just for a second, Lars, please, because we've not given the people online a chance to do a couple of questions. They are flowing in. One gentleman, Peter Muir here from South Africa, say this sounds great, but how much does it cost?
Well, no, it's easy because it's now the format that we've adopted since the pandemic, and the rule of thumb is roughly £2,000 per car per day. So do the math; it may be a little bit more here on the 2028 P2P. Of course, it's such a long distance away; we have to account for some increased costs due to inflation and whatever. So it'll be effectively the entry fee will be 89,250. Like on the Gaucho, if you're an early booker within the first week, 10 days, there's a 5% discount that brings it down to 82, which ends up being the 2,000, 1,000 per person per day. Now, we've done something a little bit different this year. So that's the standard entry fee. Now, vintage cars get a discount on that, and Pioneer cars get a further discount on that. And we, as a company, we will recoup that gap through the sponsors that we're talking to, so that obviously it's a whole, makes it whole for us. But in order to promote vintage and pioneering and Edwardian motoring, it is so much more expensive, and I've done it myself on both categories, to prepare the car for the P2P and then to re-prep it after the P2P. That the cost of what it is to a more modern car is really not comparable to the older car. So we don't want to alienate them. So you'll see that as a staggered. But otherwise, it's to the South African friend. That's the pricing, and it's been like this. It was last year on Badawi, Sahara. All our events are roughly that. That's where the market's at.
And Florian Schurenkramer asks, after the P2P, how do the cars come back from Paris?
Well, the real question is, Dave, that's a question for you.
Sorry, Florian, they're taking it
So,
out of
no.
you. You know.
Well, I guess it's where they're based. I mean, we said we will have transporters at the end of the event where we can take them to anywhere within Europe, or even indeed take them back to our facilities in the UK or Holland and ship them back accordingly. We can do a full round trip for people, so there's no problem there.
Right, I have another question here, and this is from F. Mendelson, who says, what about refueling in the desert?
Okay, so those people who've done the event before know that both in Mongolia and in Kazakhstan, in remote areas where we cannot guarantee that the local village fuel stations will have enough fuel, we arrange for a tanker into the campsite. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Eric Gellenkirchen says, what currency are we dealing in here for the price?
Sorry, no, the entry fee, we're UK based, it is pound sterling. But we will accept dollars, just the conversion, the FX rate has to be the right one.
Okay, sorry, Lars, can we come back to you now?
Say, just to put things in perspective, Thomas, it is still cheaper to do Peking to Paris per day than staying in the suite in the Savoy. But what I wanted to say is that everybody who is preparing a car should do themselves a favor. Take a week's holiday, go to the preparer, look at the car, get some, say, teaching from the mechanics about the essential things, read a few books about what went wrong, and there are many good books. Patrick has one up here, and there you can see what went wrong and focus on these areas, and then you're well prepared.
Okay. All right, Florian.
How about special stages versus regularities? What's it going to be for the 28 P2P? Is it all regularities again?
I somehow was expecting this question. So, so I think, Guy, given that this is your department.
Yeah, I mean, we took feedback from 2024. 2025 will see much longer STC sections, as we call them, special control sections. So, we've gone away from the short, sharp blasts where we can. Some of them in 2025 are 40 kilometers long. So it's more about actually surviving them rather than the actual out-and-out speed. The nature of the beast, unfortunately, insurance means we need to run regularities. We will keep them to the bare minimum where we can, I'm not allowed to make them complicated, according to the chairman. So we will keep them simple, but after 36 days or 34 days, 35 days, we might throw the odd one in just to get the result. But yeah, it will be very similar format to before, but we've taken on board that we have longer sections. As I say, the one I think out of Baku is now 42 kilometers long, hopefully with the right waypoint this time. So from that point of view, that's what we've looked at, and we've made the sections much longer and much more about keeping the car in one piece. And what I'd like to do, my aim is that the winner basically should be able to clean all those sections without dropping any time. If one car cleans it, everybody else drops time. I've done my job. So that's the basis on which we're going to set it. But yes, there will be a bit of both and tests wherever possible. But that's becoming increasingly difficult. A bit of a victim of our own success. We try to go to circuits, and all of a sudden, I think we've had quotes of £15,000 to £20,000 for an hour's use of a circuit, and it's not financially viable for us to do those
Thank
sort of things.
Thank you, I just must move it on a little bit because we're coming to the end of the stream. Our last question from online, Alfonso d'Orleans Bourbon asks, will the border crossings be a little bit more fluid in the future?
Yes.
Yes.
So a lot of that will depend on the quality of how the information is presented to us and how we then present it to the border agencies. The difficulty is that people then do copies of the road book, and then the duty manager at the customs doesn't know if it's a 6, if it's a J, goes onto the computer, looks for La France. The La France is not even on the available car list, and that adds 5 minutes. You multiply it by 100 crews, and you've got 4 hours delay. Now, we can do as much as we can, but these are border crossings, and just patience is really the virtue of the strong in these things. So,
I mean, just to reiterate, we're working with the Azerbaijanis. We've now got a very good system, we believe, in place that the cars will all be barcoding when they come in. So hopefully, going from Azerbaijan into Georgia will be simple. Out of Turkey, there was an issue with it. It was a holiday coming out of Turkey last time, which cost us virtually all day. We're doing a different border crossing. So we have for 25. We've looked at that, and hopefully it will our system will work better.
Yep.
Our system will work a lot better.
Okay, great. Right, if you have a burning question and you haven't got your question answered online, and there's quite a few of them here, then please email it into us at info@hero-era.com, and you can see it on the screen, and you can see it on the screen at home on your device as well, and we'll get the best people to answer that. I'm going to ask for the brochures and the entry forms to be given out now, because entries are open now. There are 100 places, and as Thomas alluded to before, it could be very easily, very quickly oversubscribed, as happened in 2019, as happened within a month of the Gaucho Trail. Boom, that was it, totally oversubscribed. So again, to reiterate that message, that if you enter in those first 10 days, up to the 5th of April, there will be a 5% discount. John King, who was second on the Hero Challenge 1 just last weekend, has turned up here, he's bought a Dodge, and he's about to enter the P2P. So congratulations, well done to you, John. So that is exactly what Thomas was talking about, and Guy was talking about, 0 to hero, and then doing Badawi, and through you go on there. I would like to say as well that Annette will be coming round, the forms will be coming round in the middle of the brochures. We have an incredible, Patrick Debissere is with us, and he will be over by the books over there, because he's brought the fantastic copies of the Peking to Paris, the ultimate motor adventure. There he is. And Patrick, as you know, is a seasoned veteran and winner in not just his classes, but the Spirit Award in 2019. It's absolutely breathtaking, but it's stunning photography in it. Go over and see him and put your orders in with him. And at the same time, we also have our Hero store as well. Martin Berger is out there, and you can see that he has his mannequin, because there is Hero merchandise and P2P merchandise on there as well. I'm just getting rid of all the commercial messages that I'm delivering at this moment, and I think I've done all of those, but I would like to close, and that's the picture of some of the merchandise, so just see Martin. I would like to close because Gary has put a fantastic little video together, very short, but it summarizes all the features we've talked about for 2028 and what lies ahead. So let's close with this video.
In 2028, Hero ERA will embark on an epic journey in the wheel tracks of Prince Borghese, the adventurer and first winner in 1907, as the 10th anniversary edition of the legendary Peking to Paris Motor Challenge roars into life. Since 1907, this grueling test of endurance has pushed human and machine limits to the edge. The 2028 challenge will be longer, more adventurous and demanding than ever before, rekindling the indomitable spirit of those original pioneers. Over 42 relentless days through 12 countries and across 17,500 unforgiving kilometers, the 2028 route will be even longer than the original. returning to Mongolia for the first time in 9 years, making its way through the breathtaking expanse of Mongolia, one of the crown jewels of this great adventure. After those remote deserts, competitors will go on to conquer the largest landmass on Earth, but only by reaching their ultimate destination in the heart of Europe, Paris. Uniquely, for the first time, 2028 will also see the introduction of a special 3-wheel or less class, an expansion of the adventurous classes and homage to daring accomplishments of Anton Gonnesson and Hermann Junior Galland, who shattered all expectations in 2019 Challenge aboard their 3-wheeled motor tri-Contour by setting a record for the longest journey on a 3-wheeler. And in a moment of history turning full circle, Hero ERA chairman Thomas de Vargas Machuca will take the wheel of a 1907 Itala, the sister car to Prince Borghesi's original machine. 12 decades later, the Peking to Paris Motor Challenge 2028 will be remembered as more than just a rally. It will be a tribute to those who first defied the impossible, as this edition promises to be the longest, most adventurous and exhilarating automotive adventure yet. So join us in 2028 for the 10th anniversary edition of the Peking to Paris Motor Challenge, the greatest motoring odyssey on Earth.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that final message, do join us in 2028. The panel are here now. They will mix around with you, time to network, time to chat, ask your questions directly. From all of us, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to everybody online around the world for joining you. Don't forget about your questions. Send those into the email that you saw before. Thank you all, and a big round of applause to our panel, ladies and gentlemen.